Well, quarterback Aaron Rodgers made his Steelers debut during the first day of the team's mandatory minicamp. The four-time NFL MVP spoke with the media on Tuesday and detailed his decision to return for a 21st season and why Pittsburgh was the right fit for him.
A big attraction was Mike Tomlin. I've gone against him over the years. The way that the conversations went between him and I, between whatever it was in March or April, and the last Sunday when I called him was some of the coolest conversations I've had in the game. Definitely with the head coach. So he's a big reason I'm here. I believe in him and excited to play for him. There's a few iconic franchises in the NFL. I played for one of them for 18 years. This is another one of those. There's something special about obviously this area. So many great quarterbacks are from Pittsburgh. I feel like Pittsburgh has been a part of my career from the beginning. Everything's new. It's like the first day of school. I don't know a lot of guys' names. They don't have names on the back of the jerseys here. They don't have names on the doors in the meeting room. So I literally walk out of the locker room lost, try and grab somebody. Hey, where am I going? But I'll get the feel of it, and I'm excited about making this home.
What would winning a championship mean to you as far as you would accomplish at this point in your career?
That'd mean the 7th championship for the city, right? That'd be great.
That would be great. We're now joined by former NFL GM Rand Carthon and former Steeler Bryant McFadden, who knows firsthand the appeal of playing under Mike Tomlin. But Aaron Rodgers said a lot of his decisions over his career were strictly from ego, but he said this one came from the soul. B-Mac, what's your thoughts on Rodgers' mindset in year 21 with his new ball club?
You know what, I'm loving everything I'm hearing so far from Aaron Rodgers. He handled that presser great. And one thing that I got from that, from those statements from Aaron Rodgers, the respect that he has for the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, the respect that he has for Mike Tomlin as a football coach. That's very, very important. Because now, standing in front of Aaron Rodgers, because of the respect that he has for the organization and Mike Tomlin, there's nothing but humility in front of him. There's no ego issue for Aaron Rodgers. He's walking into an opportunity. The foundation has already been laid. When you walk on the second floor in the facilities there on the south side, you see 6 sticky. They're not sticky anymore, but they once were sticky, shiny Lombardis. And you talked about his understanding about the history of the game. We cannot forget, throughout his time in Green Bay, there were a lot of Pittsburgh people with the Green Bay Packers. Early on, Don Capers, the historical defensive coordinator, he was there. You look at Mike McCarthy, he has Western PA ties. Dan Perry, who used to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, was a defensive back coach throughout Aaron Rodgers' time there, mostly for the Green Bay Packers. So they've always emphasized the Pittsburgh mentality and the toughness that comes with wearing the jersey, wearing the hat. So he understands all of this, and I'm happy to hear him just lay it out perfectly for all of us in terms of the respect that he has for everything involving the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, and for me, I think you hit on a lot of what I thought about, but I thought he came across as very likable. Regardless of what's been said about him, I think he came across as very likable. I think he was very complimentary of his teammates, of the organization. But a couple notes here that I took out that really stood out to me. And one, he talked a lot about the carryover of the Shanahan system. And it goes back to his days with Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. But then if you tie it all together, Arthur Smith was Matt LaFleur's tight ends coach when Matt LaFleur was the offensive coordinator here in Tennessee for the Tennessee Titans. And so that brings it all around full circle for Aaron in terms of an offensive system that he has knowledge of. And then the other thing, and Kiana, you hit it on the lead in, he talked about making a lot of decisions in the past that were about his ego. And whether or not, they turned out great or not, they weren't fulfilling. And so this one was about his soul and going to a place that was going to fulfill his soul, which was touching, to say the least, to hear. And then the final thing that stood out to me, he said it was here or not play. And to me, that speaks volumes of the Steelers organization and Mike Tomlin and their impression on him.
Absolutely. You're entering year 21. You have a lot more behind you than you might have in front of you, but still you want to finish things out, which it looks like will happen in Pittsburgh. But Mike Tomlin, as Rodgers put it, B-Mac, he said, is a big reason he signed with Pittsburgh. He also noted how Tomlin handled this months-long courtship What's your assessment just of this marriage between the two, B?
I think it's going to work out rather nicely. These two have always admired each other from afar. There's always been a mutual love and mutual respect for either side. And we've seen that when you look at some of the matchups when Pittsburgh faced off against the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers. You see them acknowledging each other. We saw that a year ago when they played against the New York Jets in post-game, met in the middle of the football field and said a few words. So there's always been a mutual respect. And I think that's very, very important for this entire relationship to work out, because Aaron Rodgers is walking into a situation where he doesn't question what Mike Tomlin is going to do. Mike Tomlin has the resume for you to understand. He knows what he's doing in terms of being able to get a group of men to follow his lead. And I think Aaron Rodgers, he wants to be a part of that said atmosphere. And I think that played a major part in him deciding to play one more year instead of, walking off in the sunset.
Again, two things for me here. One, and they're both centered around Mike Tomlin, let me say. One, Mike Tomlin has a certain level of confidence and aura that comes with him as a man when he steps on the field. And for me, I've always looked at it like this. There are two people in the organization that, regardless whether you know anything about football or not, when they walk into that room, they command your eyes and your attention, and that's the head coach and the quarterback, and both of these guys have that. And I just think Aaron Rodgers' respect for Mike Tomlin is going to go a long way for them as an organization. And then the final thing, and this is a little personal, Mike Tomlin recruited my cousin, who was probably one of the top 2 running backs in the country, to a small school at Arkansas State. He got a 5-star level recruit to follow him to Arkansas State. So we know Mike Tomlin knows how to recruit, and he knows how to lure people into wherever he is.
Yeah, and one, like you both mentioned, one that is respected, and he has the resume to prove for it. But it wasn't just Rodgers' first time in a Steelers uniform, guys. His also new wide receiver DK Metcalf making his debut for mandatory minicamp after missing OTAs. Metcalf, #1 big-bodied wideout that we've seen Rodgers thrive with in the past. Here's what he had to say about his newest wideout.
DK's been blowing me up for a while. We got to get together out west, but I've gone against him a number of times. He's big, athletic, fast, got great hands, ball skills. But the thing that really excites me the most is his character. I think he's a high character guy. I was teasing him the first conversation we had. He said, "Yes, sir," like 10 times. I said, "Is that because I'm 41?" He said, "No, that's how I talk." So I like his whole personality and his approach and the way he is on the field, his professionalism.
Professionalism and how he is on the field. Well, DK never closed out a season with fewer than 900 yards receiving, 48 touchdowns across his career in Seattle, but was on the lower end of his production last year in terms of yards, touchdowns, and first down. So, Rand, what are your early expectations for this QB wide receiver duo this year?
I expect it to thrive. I really do, and it's because of what we've talked about in the past, the body structure of a DK Metcalf and the type of receiver that Aaron Rodgers is used to having. And I'm just envisioning on the field now those back shoulder throws that Aaron likes to throw and the DK adjusting, and then those deep balls. Who throws a better deep ball in this league than Aaron Rodgers? And then you have this big quarter horse galloping downfield, stretching the field, making explosive. So, excuse me. So I expect big things out of this duo here. And again, we got a young DK Metcalf that's going to be just a sponge for anything that Aaron Rodgers wants to do. And so I expect big things out of this duo.
You know what? I had the same expectations, Rand, Kiana, but for me, the expectations are basically tied to Arthur Smith, because Arthur Smith is going to have to be very, very creative in getting DK Metcalf, moving him around in the offense, because you saw the depth chart in terms of running back, wide receivers, and tight ends. Robert Woods is slated to be the #2 wide receiver. Now, Robert Woods has had a really, really good career, but if you look at his time in Houston, especially a year ago, he was serviceable at best. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, when you make this move to acquire DK Metcalf, when you make this move to recruit and sign Aaron Rodgers, you're making these moves to see them at their best, especially in the timing of their career. And right now, when you look at the personnel, DK is the only guy who you really need to devote extra attention to. So if I'm playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers, let's see exactly what Arthur Smith has in terms of utilizing DK Metcalf. Because can we see if the others can beat you? So now this puts more pressure on Arthur Smith. You can't just line DK up wide and say, hey, have a ball. No, because it's easier for us as defenders to cloud him, devote that safety and move him over the top a little bit, and now X him out of the equation, and let's see, can the other guy step up? But they have enough time to kind of get things into place. But me personally, the expectations are tied to Arthur Smith. Because if Arthur Smith is in that grocery bag, bringing out them groceries, they're going to eat. But if he reaches in that bag, ain't no groceries, they're going to go hungry. I don't like going hungry.
We don't like going hungry. Hopefully he is in his bag, but also what also stands out to me is the fact that neither one of them were there for OTAs. They're there for mandatory minicamp. I know they are veterans. Both of them have been in the league for some time, but does that play into anything as we start heading towards the season? I know we still have training camp a little bit more time, but who can't use a little bit more time together? But nonetheless, guys, there's someone else that's kind of excited to see Rodgers in Pittsburgh. I'm talking Browns pass rusher Myles Garrett, because he was asked his thoughts about facing Aaron Rodgers twice a year, and I'm going to just let him answer this one in his own words.
What do I think about it?
Face him twice a year.
I think it's a good opportunity to put him in the graveyard.
Good opportunity to put him in the graveyard. We're all aware of Garrett's graveyard decorations for Halloween, featuring the tombstones of quarterbacks he's sacked throughout his career. But when Garrett did face off against Rodgers back in 2021 when he was with the Packers, he compiled 1 tackle and 1 QB hit on the day. So I'm looking through my schedule, week 6 in Pittsburgh, Browns-Steelers first meeting of the season. How soon do you think he'll land his name to the graveyard?
Oh, Myles Garrett is going to get there. Let's make no mistake about it. And I'm an offensive guy, so I love hearing this type of talk, but you wouldn't expect him to say anything less. It's Myles Garrett. He's one of the premier rushers in the league. And again, you got to understand, Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old. A lot of these guys that he's going against have grown up watching him play, have played with him on Madden. So for a defender, they would love nothing more than to be able to sack Aaron Rodgers and add that to the notch on their jacket. Keanu, if you can remember back when we were in San Francisco and then we played against Tampa Bay when Tom Brady was there, and just the drove of our players that just wanted to run up and just meet the GOAT, shake his hand, get a picture, ask for his jersey. It's going to be that same type of treatment for Aaron Rodgers, whether it's getting to meet him one last time or being able to go out and say, hey, I was one of those dudes that sacked.
I really hope in the 2 outings he does not put Aaron Rodgers in his graveyard. I really hope. That's all I can do. But when you talk about attacking, sacking quarterbacks, Myles Garrett is the boogeyman. We're not in October right now, but he terrorizes opposing quarterbacks, and he's done a phenomenal job against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But correct me if I'm wrong. You said he faced off against Aaron Rodgers only once in his career. He's never sacked Aaron Rodgers, right, Keon? Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, to my knowledge.
Yeah, to your knowledge. He's never sacked Aaron Rodgers. Well, Broderick, Troy, not saying there's a lot of pressure on you guys who are the 2 tackles for Aaron Rodgers, but the entire offensive line. Let's see, can we keep this trend going, especially by the end of the season? But no, we don't need to add Aaron Rodgers to the cemetery, not to the graveyard. No.
Well, for B-Mac's sake, hoping that his quarterback stays upright throughout this season. Myles Garrett, though, looking to add just another name on one of those tombstones in his front yard. Fellas, as always, appreciate you guys stopping by with the insight. Thanks so much. Well, Myles Garrett's first crack at Rodgers this season. I told you guys that's in week 6. The teams will also meet again in week 17. That one will be in Cleveland. Before that, Rodgers and the Steelers open it up against his former team, Jets. That's in week 1.